from Board Game Gumbo here, back with episode number 26. That's right, season 2 starting up here in 2018 of Gumbo Live. Board Game Gumbo Live is the #1 Facebook Live talk show dedicated to board gaming. Justin, that's because we're the only Facebook Live talk show dedicated to board gaming. But you know
what? The market.
That's right. We're going to hold on to that mantle as long as we can. Our special guest tonight, you heard his name, or you heard his voice, Justin De Witt of Fireside Games. Out of Austin, you know those. You're very familiar with their games. We're going to be talking about gaming. We'll talk conventions, maybe even talk a little shop about their newest games, Kaiju Crush and Hotshots. Gumbo Live is a proud member of Punchboard Media. Check out some of the other fine members like Draft Mechanic Podcast. Jake and Danielle talk about beer and board games on every show. Their taste in games, it's so much like mine. I love listening to them because I always get ideas on what's the next great game to buy. Punchboard Media, where we all bring something to the table. Hit me up on social media tonight, on Twitter at Board Game Gumbo, on Facebook, facebook.com/Board Game Gumbo. All right, enough show prep there. Justin, let's get to our guest, Justin De Witt of Fireside Games. Man, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, Justin, I know you heard this term before. I love to talk about the elevator pitch. Give us the quick elevator pitch. Who is Justin De Witt, and what is Fireside Games?
Some weirdo you let come on your show. I don't know what you're up to. No, I am technically the chief creative officer for Fireside Games, which is the fancy term we had to give me. I'm essentially the lead designer. I design most of the games, or at least am intimately involved in all of them. And my wife and I run Fireside Games together. We have Sam, our production artist, and then we have Heidi, who does our customer service. We're a pretty small group. But we've been around since 2008 when we launched, which we launched with Castle Panic. That's our biggest hit. Most people know us for that. We've been making games ever since then, staying really busy. Things are going great. We are rolling and turning and burning and kind of thing. The two newest games you mentioned, Hotshots, Kaiju Crush, those are our babies that are out right now. And we're just trying to keep up with it all at this point.
Guess what one of the first games I got into when I got into the hobby side? I mean, just like you, I've been in board gaming all my life. But when I got deep into the hobby side, one of the very first games I got, Castle Panic. Would you believe that?
Oh, see, There you go.
not the first. But,
okay, all right.
Yeah, not the first, but one of the first games I got, and on recommendation from Tom Vassell, he talked about it, and he talked about it, and he talked about it. I had young kids at the time. I said, this is going to be perfect. It's going to be a co-op game that I can teach the kids. And you kept coming up with expansions that just made it tougher and tougher and tougher.
Exactly.
So, yeah, kudos to you guys. Hey, look, I love to do show prep on people before they come to the show. This is a quote. And you and I have met because I worked or volunteered with you through the Envie program at Gen Con. Exactly. And when I read this quote, I said, oh my God, this is Justin. Does creative thought ever stop flowing from this guy? It comes out in his work. It comes out in his meetings. It comes out when he's eating.
That's great. Where did you think that up?
Anyone who needs a constant fresh supply of ideas would be well served to have Justin on their team. Justin's mother had to be a muse, a Greek muse. I think that's what he said. Somebody on LinkedIn that knows you very well, Andrew, somebody that you worked with in the past.
Nice.
So
nice.
But what is that creative side? You went from working for a bunch of different companies and then branching out on your own. Are you still able to be as creative as you want to be while running a company like Fireside Games?
Yes, for the most part. I mean, the board game industry is creativity. Everything you're doing, from are you coming up with a new game? Are you trying new mechanics? What's your marketing strategy? How are you going to design your booth at Gen Con and all that kind of stuff? You're constantly solving problems and trying to be as creative as you can with that. I will admit, though, there's a lot of other things that get in the way in terms of when it's two of us running a company. We spend a lot of our day doing things that are really boring. Like, I am good at Excel. That is not exciting, but I can do a lot of spreadsheets, though. And, dealing with like print buying and all that kind of stuff, not as fun, but, in terms of the creativity for jumping into to game stuff, especially, that fire never goes out. I couldn't turn that off if I tried.
Sure.
I'm constantly working on game stuff.
How do you balance the two of them, though? How do you balance the business side versus, let's face it, you're in the board game industry. The passion that I've seen you at Gen Con, you're not in this solely to make money. Because you could be doing anything else. You're doing it because you got that passion for board games. So how do you do that balance?
Honestly, it's tricky. The business never stops. It's one of those things that, like, when we were starting, people told us, oh, you should do this, you should do that. And the one piece of advice I give people, if you're going to start board game company. Replace the word board game and just put company. Are you ready to run a business? Because that's what this is. It's a business. If I'm not working on it, stuff's not getting done. So we are constantly having that pressure. It is a balancing act, and sometimes we get it right, sometimes we don't. It's a struggle we always have. Hitting deadlines is something that sometimes is tricky for me. I love to experiment and play and move these bits around. And what if I just move this one more bit? Meanwhile, Anne-Marie's like, we have schedules. This has to go out. And sometimes I need to be smacked around a little and get this done. That's always a challenge because you want to experiment. You want to play with it, so to speak. But you've got to get stuff done. This is a business. It has deadlines. It has schedules. It's constantly a challenge. We find a balance. That balance ebbs and flows. Sometimes we work more than we wish we did. Sometimes we play and say we really should get back to work. You know, that doesn't happen as much as the other version of that equation. But yeah, it is constantly a juggling act. I think everybody deals with that. The only real difference is some people have more staff that get to juggle more things. We're pretty small, so we have to juggle all of it.
BJ from Board Game Gumbo here, Gumbo Live, episode 26. I'm talking to Justin from Fireside Games. Hey, my buddy, the name father, Steve O'Rourke, checking in. Steve says, hello, gentlemen, late to the party, but he's here.
Hello, Stephen.
Justin, you can expect questions, maybe comments from Steve. Get ready for those. He'll keep you on your toes. Hey, I did not know this, but you and I have something in common.
Uh-oh.
We both have ancestry from Portugal. Mine's from Lisbon.
Really?
I don't know where your family's from, but mine's from Lisbon. A long time ago. Yeah, the De Silvas from Lisbon. That's my ancestry. So that brings me up a question.
Uh-huh.
If you're from Portugal and possibly from Lisbon, would you ever play Lisboa with me by Vital Lacerda?
I've never tried it, so yes, of course. For our heritage, I mean, we have to. We have to
do it. So I broke it out. Look, normally, Hotshots, Kaiju Crush, Ticket to Ride. You know, that's how I got started in the hobby. I've branched out. Viticulture is my favorite game. So kind of that level of a game. I love games by Bruno Cathala, Bruno Fedudi, Antoine Boza. I like all these guys. But man, everybody talks about Vital Lacerda. So I got it for Christmas. I've been reading the rules for a week straight. Ooh. I've watched 3 videos and I tried to break it out on the table and I just flopped, man. It's just too many rules. I'm still working on it. I'm not going to give it up. But I said 2 guys from Portugal, we could figure it out.
Yes, right? Yes. Give me a week with the rules or whatever. We'll get there. We can do that. Yes.
BJ from Board Game Gumbo Live. I've got Justin from Fireside Games here. Hey, I'd like to know something. You're at every convention, it seems like. You do a lot of conventions during the year. But what's the best game you've got to play? What's the best game you've gotten to play since Gen Con?
Oh, since Gen Con. What's funny is you think I play games. That's hilarious. No, that's one of the things we struggle with is how to keep up with everything that's going on. I got so much stuff in Shrink Wrap, it's humiliating. I got old games. I mean, old games that are still in Shrink Wrap. It's embarrassing. Anyway, I finally got to play Sagrada not long after Gen Con. I'd never played. I'd only seen it since. In fact, I bought my copy from them at their booth at Gen Con right after they sold out, so they had to mail it to me. And I got it and I opened it and it was really fun. That was a pleasant surprise because I'd heard a lot of buzz. I didn't really know anything about it except it was something to do with stained glass, and it just it just popped. That's a really good one. So
yes, Sagrada. See, that's the weight and level of game that I just love. I could play those games because they're 20 or 30 minutes. They take 2 minutes to teach, and yet every time I play Sagrada, my wife loves it. Every time I play Sagrada, I see something different in it, a little different strategy, get a little deeper in it. So I love that. There's Steve with the comment. Are you saying that rebuilding an entire city from earthquake, tidal wave, and fire?
that may take more than 5 minutes to explain it.
Do you ever see yourself designing a game that heavy?
I wouldn't say that heavy, but the one I'm working on right now is definitely on a slightly different end of the spectrum than we've been playing in. It's got more to chew on, and I'm pretty excited about that because it does push more levers than we've pushed in the past. We are never going to go super, super heavy, though. You know, I'm never going to do some giant, crunchy war game that takes 8 hours or anything like that. That's just not our stick. It's also not our brand. People kind of know what to get from us. That we've given them, you know, we range from bears to some bigger games and things. So there's a bunch in there, but no, I don't think we'll ever do anything super huge and massive. Partly because that's a tricky part of the industry to flourish in. It's a very easy place to have your game show up and then immediately be discounted because it's really expensive and people don't want it. And that's hard then for retailers to say, yeah, I want to carry your products. I can make money on that versus no, that's going for half price on Amazon. I got other games to put on my shelf. So
can you give us a scoop here? We're all about the scoop with Gumbo Live. What you working on?
Oh, do you want the scoop now? All right, the scoop now. You are getting the scoop. We haven't told anybody yet. This is the newest
I
game.
love it, Steve.
Yes, it's going to be called Remnants. It is a post-apocalyptic game where you play as a person controlling a compound with a couple of survivor people in it. You have to send them out and race for resources in a real-time dice rolling competition. The resource tokens that you pick up, you will bring back to your cabin, and you will then spend them to buy cards. And the cards you buy are going to do things for you, like let you get more resources, do other things with your resources, and also help you fight the bad guys. Because just like the real apocalypse, there's bad guys coming at you. There's mutant creatures that are going to attack, and you're going to have to defend your compound using the cards that you just bought. So there's kind of a 3-step process of roll dice to get resources, buy things with those resources, use those resources to not die, make the most points at the end when the big boss shows up. You fight off the big boss, hopefully, fingers crossed, and you score the most points by having people alive and victory points and things like that. We're really excited.
If I had to think of a game that you would design that'd be a little step above, that's it. I mean, it almost seems like every game that comes out from you guys, it's just buried in theme. I mean, you guys really seem to just embrace we're going to have the theme make sense with the mechanics. Do you agree?
I think so too. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a big deal for me. As much as I love a good Euro when it comes to like the thinking and the puzzling, I like to feel like I'm doing what I'm doing, and I try and put that into every game we make. We want the mechanics to reinforce that. We want you to feel the tension of whatever situation you're supposed to be doing. The passion of it should be there in the game, and I think that's actually something we do pretty good. And this is no different. That's part of why this game's a little later than we like. We had to crank on things a lot and really polish up some of the details to make this feel like you're doing it. So, yeah.
Steve says, Justin, Dead of Winter plus Fuse? A little?
Not exactly, but I mean, yeah, it depends on what parts of each game you want to pull out. True. I would actually say resource gathering is closer to our game Bears in the sense that it's you're rolling against other people, trying to match your symbols and take resources from the middle. So I'd say more like that. Bears has a lot of other things going on, so don't think it's just Bears. And then no, Dead of Winter goes in a lot of other directions. A lot of my game design you'll find is fairly clean. I kind of tend to give you 1 or 2 things to shoot at, and a third is sort of optional maybe. This kind of follows that. And Dead of Winter has a lot of other things going on. This is much more like, hey, bad guys are coming. You got to do something about it. Get your stuff, buy your stuff, get ready, here they come kind of thing. It's a sort of a cycle you're going through like that.
I threw up a picture just now. I don't know if you can see it, but it's a close-up
I know that game.
Hotshots. Yeah, you should know that game. We both should know that game. One of the things that impressed me the first time I played Hotshots, every single part of the game seems to make sense from a thematic standpoint. I know it's just mechanics. I know you're just rolling dice or moving people around, but it doesn't feel like that when you're playing the game.
Right.
No, it's true. You and I got comments like that all through Gen Con that people kept saying, wow, this doesn't feel like a puzzle. This feels like I'm putting out wildfires.
Yes.
How did that happen?
It really comes down to the whole the core of that one being that underneath it all, it's actually a pressure luck game. It doesn't look like it at first. It doesn't seem like it when you see all these other bits, but it's inherently a pressure luck game, which the whole idea behind it for me was a pressure luck game with consequences that mattered. Where failing doesn't mean, oh, I lose all the points I was working on. No, you messed up. Something got worse because you didn't complete it. And once I had that sort of thought experiment, it only took a couple of variations before fire became really, really good. Firefighting was like, this is what happens. If you don't stop this, it's getting worse. If you screw up your job, you're going to burn more of the forest kind of thing. So that really embedded it in there. And then it was a matter really of kind of my process is put everything in, take out all the garbage, and you're left with the really, really good stuff. So I'll try all the variations, and oh man, did we have variations and details and charts and graphs? Well, not really, but we had a lot of stuff like that. And then it was simplify, simplify, simplify. How do I make this game clean? How is your turn really easy to explain? Because it's three things on your turn, but those 3 things have a lot of complexity, and there's different ways you can go, and the cards are going to treat you different each time and all that. So yeah, it's adding depth without adding complexity, and that's a challenge. I think a lot of designers would agree that's one of the hardest things because it's easy to add complexity. Get a shovel, throw more stuff in.
BJ from Board Game Gumbo here, Gumbo Live, talking to Justin from Fireside Games. I threw up that picture. The other reason that I wanted to throw it up is your attention to detail. Now, Hotshots came out a little late, and I think one of the reasons, as I recall, was because you weren't satisfied with the fire tokens the way they came out.
Yep,
what's the story behind that?
Well, we had these incredibly cool 3D modeled flame tokens, and we've done plastics before for Here Kitty Kitty, the little cat
Right.
miniatures. And the flame one seemed like it was going to be super easy, and originally you were going to stack the flames. So we had this, essentially they had to be hollow. They were cone shaped roughly with all these cool little details. But what we realized is they weren't going to work quite the way we wanted. So we made a few tweaks, and then we realized that they weren't going to really work at all in terms of printing. We basically were cutting our teeth on plastics manufacturing. We talked to a lot of smart people ahead of time, but we just went with a model that was too complicated. And in the process, we had to essentially take a game that was literally like done except for the plastics and put it on hold while we went back and reworked the mold. And that was a lot harder than I would have thought it'd been. I reached out to some people, got some feedback, but in the end, I ended up sending sketches back and forth at the factory until we got the shape that we liked, giving up on the stacking ability, because part of what we realized too is it actually works better when there's more fire on the tiles. Right. Stacking was cool because you had a height reference. You could tell, oh, this fire's taller, i.e. it's closer to blowing up. But now more fire just like looks so cool, you know? Right. Like having more of it was really good. And yeah, we went round and round with them, but when we got that final sample back, we were in love with it. And it was like, okay, now you can print the game that's super late and now looks beautiful. So.
Yeah. So, and one of the things, every time I Google Hotshots, that's one of the things people love, those little fire tokens, the way they look, the way they look on the table, the way they light up when you put a flashlight on them.
Yes.
I mean, it was a good decision on Hot. Hey, give us the elevator pitch on Hotshots if people want to know what's the game about.
Yeah, sure. It is a cooperative pressure luck game about being wildfire fighters. The term Hotshots actually relates to the crews of firefighting teams that are called Hotshots. They get sent on the nastiest fires. Those are like the special forces of the firefighter guys. And in this game, 1 to 4 players, because you can play solitaire, are trying to save a forest. You can see in the picture BJ's got up there, each tile has dice icons on the bottom, and then you put these really sweet plastic flame minis out there. And on your turn, you're going to move your little firefighter to a different area, and then you're going to roll dice to try and beat the fire. The more symbols you can match that are on the tile that's currently burning, the better you're going to do. You'll take the fire down by more. You'll get some rewards. You'll lay out little fire breaks, which is that little, looks sort of like a brown and green log kind of thing. That's a fire break. Stops the fire from spreading. But if you fail, if you ever can't match a new symbol when you roll, you've pushed your luck too far, the fire goes up by 1, and every tile has a limit. The big number in the corner there tell you how many flames it can have on it. If it hits that limit, it scorches, blows up, flips over to its charcoal side, and spreads the fire to its neighbor. So the fire literally gets out of control. And you're trying to put out all the flames before 8 tiles get scorched, or your fire can't get scorched. If your base ever gets scorched, you can't fight the fire anymore. So it's a race against the fire, but you're also cooperating because there's things you can do like team up to get extra rolls, and there's special reward tokens you can get. So you have to push your luck a little, or the game will just eat you alive. But if you push too far, things get bad. So.
You know what I liked about the push your luck element that I hadn't thought about when I was learning the game? Mm-hmm. One of the problems with co-op games is the alpha gamer, right?
Yep.
Pushing your luck takes it out of it a little bit. Yeah. And I noticed that in the demos. The alpha gamer normally would say, "Oh, you're this kind of person," because the cool thing about Hotshots is that each one of the players is going to play a unique personality with different specialties and different skills that they can do. So you got the alpha gamer saying, "Oh, you're that personality. You need to do this. You need to do this. You need to do this." Well, now they're facing dice rolls with a push your luck element. You tell somebody to do something and they roll too many times and all of a sudden the fire's out of control. They're looking at the alpha gamer as the person who screwed it up.
Exactly.
It's not just calculating numbers.
Yeah. And it's nice because at the end of the day, you're the one rolling the dice. They can give you all the advice and the strategy they want, but you're the one rolling the dice, and you know how dice roll for you better than I do. So yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's nice. That's one of the things that, as a guy who does a lot of co-ops, that's always a challenge. How do you make it that you don't have somebody just telling everyone what to do? And this one, I think, kind of solves that really nicely, like you said. In the end of the day, it all comes down to the 6 dice in your hands and what are you going to do with them?
BJ from Board Game Gumbo here at Gumbo Live, episode 26, first of the new season, season 2. Steve O'Rourke checking in. Sounds like a solid, happy marriage of theme and mechanics. They should know each other and love each other, not just staying together for the meeples.
I like that. Yes. So we're in it for the long haul, right?
Somebody's going to hire this guy. Steve knows how to describe a game.
That is good.
Gumbo. Justin from Fireside Games is my guest tonight. Man, you guys love promotional cross-country tours. I mean, I don't know where that comes from, but every time I look up Fireside is on the road.
That's right.
And checking out different places. What's some of the cool? You got any cool stories from your life on the road this year?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah, we've done it for a while now. One of the very, very first ones we ever did was pretty hilarious. We were taking a trip to the East Coast and sort of like the southern East Coast, and hit Florida and stuff like that. And while we were going, we had Castle Panic before it was even out. We just brought it along because it was cool, and we had this game that we were going to do, and we thought we should go talk to game stores. No planning, no calling ahead. We literally would just be driving and go, there's a game store in that mini mall. Let's pull over and say hi. Half of the people are like, go away, I'm busy. And the other half are like, what is this? Tell me more. And it was so much fun. And we realized we should do this better. And so we did. We started planning ahead and calling and organizing and scheduling. And over the years, we've gotten really good at it. In 2013, Anne-Marie came on board full time. And we realized in order for Fireside to pay our bills, we got to legitimately be working for Fireside all the time. And we decided, here's what we're going to do. We're going to live on the road as a tour, and Fireside will pay the bills because we're literally working all the time. We were on the road for 10 months. We earned our paychecks that month, but it was amazing. California, oh, good Lord, I'd have to get the map out. We basically crossed the U.S. a couple of times because we literally went from California to Gen Con and then Portland, etc. And it was a blast. We have met so many cool store owners. We've met gamers all over the country. We've picked up little things like certain places in the country have like more game stores than they do places to play, and some of the other way around. And some gamers like some games in certain parts of the country. And there are amazing game stores hidden in places you'd never expect and stuff like that. It's just been awesome. And we both love road trips, so it's fun. We pile in the van and we just hit the road. And we love food, so the first thing we do, we get there is talk to everyone. Where should we go eat? What's the best food? What do we need? What's the one thing we have to eat before we leave? So that's always fun. And then, you know, if we're in town and there's something cool going on, we'll try and grab a show or whatever. We try and make it bearable and all that, but we're usually there to work. We're hitting a couple stores a week. We'll do up to a big presentation. We're in the store. I'm demoing games to people. I'm signing copies of games, answering questions and stuff like that, doing interviews, whatever it takes kind of thing to just help promote the game, get the store some action going on there, help them sell some games while we're there. So yeah, they're a blast, but they're a lot of work.
Have you gone to New Orleans yet, or anywhere in Louisiana?
We did New Orleans during one of our Eastern ones. Honestly, that's one of the areas we need to cycle back to because it's been so long. I'm sure the landscape has completely changed. I know for a fact 2 of the stores that I went in thinking were pretty cool are gone now, and I'm sure there's new ones. So the landscape changes enough. Yeah, we got to get down in your neck of the woods again and come do some more.
Speaking of road trips, you guys have a big, usually a pretty busy convention schedule. What was, 2-part question.
Okay.
What was your favorite convention as a business guy, as Fireside Games? And what's your favorite convention as Justin, the guy who's played games all his life?
Oh, okay. Well, the second one's easy, but let me think. Okay, as a business person.
And I got a shot, while you're thinking, I got a shot of that awesome booth that you guys put together for.
Yes, that looks like this year. Yeah.
Look how crowded we were, man. We were getting killed.
I was going to say, you can actually see across the booth. That's a quiet time. Yeah, and there's our big cutout of the firefighter guy. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, from a business point of view, you can't not do Gen Con in a lot of ways. You know, it is the thing. It's, at least in America, it's the big one. It's where the most noise is. It's where you want to shout the loudest. It's also one of the hardest because of that. Like, releasing a game at Gen Con is such a mixed bag right now. You're up against 100 other titles. Everyone's excited, and somebody's going to get the buzz. And if you're not that guy, this is good luck. Hope you didn't spend too much. But at the same time, Gen Con's amazing. So I think we've had other conventions where we've made more money and stuff. Gen Con's really expensive, but Gen Con is gamer's paradise for a certain degree, and it's just you got to go big and stuff like that. But me personally, my favorite is probably, I would have to say, as a gamer, I would go to Board Game Geek every chance I had up in Dallas. Yeah. A, it's super close for me. It's like a 4-hour drive. And B, it's basically a convention extremely dedicated to playing games. It's not, they have vendor stalls, and there is a retailer expo hall you can go to, but it's pretty small. It's not the focus of the show. The show is there to go and play with friends and try new games. And my favorite thing up there is their library. Those guys have a library. I don't even know the count of games right now, but basically they wheel in chrome shelves filled with games. I mean, like literally filled, overflowing, and it fills up an entire room. They had to start wrapping it to make it fit, and you go in with your name tag, and it's like a library card. You just check out any game you want, and sure, they've got the hot new stuff, but they got that one game you never had a chance to play from 10 years ago. That one you heard of but have never actually seen in person. It's in the library, and to me, almost from an archival sense. It's amazing to go in there and play. I've heard of this. I've never played Lupin Louie. I have finally played Lupin Louie before they re-released it. And like some weird old Spiel des Jahres winner from like the 80s that Amber and I played a couple years ago that we absolutely loved. We're like, how is a game this good now out anymore, you know?
Sure.
And then oh yeah, here's this hot new thing from Essen if you want to play that too, kind of deal. But to me, that as a gamer is just so much fun. The hard thing is stopping and going to sleep. You just want to play for the whole thing. And with that library, how do you? It's a challenge.
One of these days, you and I were talking before the show about scouts, and most of the time during that Memorial Day weekend, I'm doing something with the scouts. But one of these days, I'm going to make it. 2 of the guys from the crew to Gumbo make BGG every year and come back and say, guys, you want to know why we played twice as many games you did this year? Because we played half of them at BGG Con.
Yes, seriously.
You know,
it's so easy. The hard part is it's that right before Thanksgiving thing. And now, I mean, this year, that was when PAX Unplugged was. So there's talk of them changing it next year. I haven't looked at the dates. I'm hoping they can.
Yeah, I said Memorial Day. I was thinking BGG Spring. Do you do that because it's coming up next? Do you do the one in the spring? The BGG
we have not. We haven't done the spring one yet. I forget why. There's something going on that we were doing. I think we were just busy. Excuse me, the year before. But we've never gone as a vendor. That's for sure. I wouldn't mind going as a player, but that's a whole other thing. I have to have the time to be able to get away for like 4 days and not work.
Before I forget, we did BJ from Board Game Gumbo here, Gumbo Live, episode 26. We're talking to Justin from Fireside Games. We did have a Twitter question. Jeremy from Jambalaya Games asked, Fireside uses kind of a traditional street date, and in other words, picking the date and releasing the game versus the Kickstarter model.
Oh yeah,
Where do you ever see yourselves using the Kickstarter model?
Oh man, yeah, that's an episode on its own. But right now,
I can narrow it down to about 35 seconds.
I can try. Right now, we have no immediate plans for a Kickstarter release, mostly because we've been able to do what we do and it works. Okay. We can hit the date we need to. We have our own funding. We don't need to worry about that. We can make the game we want and get it out. And also, honestly, while some Kickstarters have really great numbers, when you break it down and look at number of games sold, sometimes it's not that many. Like there are a lot of them out there that are pretty big deals that for us would be considered a failure because there's not enough units. We have a certain threshold we're used to, and if we don't hit that, that's not good for us. So we would need to really make sure we can hit those units. And having never done one before, we're gonna have to cut our teeth on one. There's a lot to dig up. There's a lot of ways to do a Kickstarter wrong. We've learned a ton, but right now we don't feel like we have to. But I will say, man, I love the marketing from a good Kickstarter. There's no denying that that's how buzz gets spread, and you can't buy that kind of advertising. You have to just launch on Kickstarter. So I'll sit here and say, not never, but nothing immediate future.
Well, what a change. I mean, when you guys got into the hobby, you know, if you looked at the hotness on BGG or the top games, nothing was Kickstarter. And now, if you look at the top 10 games from last year, from the buzz standpoint, like 8 of them were Kickstarter, you know, because they just generate that buzz. But you know, I like the approach that you guys have it on there. Hey, I got a question for you. You guys are known as not simple games. You guys are known as family-friendly games, also gamer-friendly games, because Hotshots is a step up. Yeah. And some of your other games are a step up. Castle Panic keeps introducing more and more complications and more rules. So you're kind of you're not on that bottom end of the scale. You're kind of in the family-friendly arena. What makes a good family-friendly game? Not a kid's game. What makes a good family-friendly? That SDJ weight. And I kind of think of you guys in that realm, you know?
Yeah. Honestly, I think it's the Goldilocks zone, to steal astronomical term there. I think the trick with that is the same things that make a game really good as a family game make a game really good in general. You want clean design that can be explained very quick. You don't want to have to pull out a 20-page rule book and take 20 minutes to explain. You want to be playing in like a few minutes. Right. You also you want it to be fun. You want this to be something people want to come back to, which means you've got clean rules that work well. You don't have a lot of friction on, like, I don't understand this rule. I hate the way this one thing works. You want to have that polished out. And then you want something that you can go back to. You want replayability, even if it's the same game, but you can try a new strategy, or you can come at a different way, or you can rearrange the board or whatever, but something different's going to happen. And you want something that's going to be quick too. People, especially especially with Castle Panic is such a gateway game. It is like strategically engineered to bring new people into our hobby. Right. there's a time issue. My neighbors, I love them, but they are not gamers. I could not go over to them and play a 2-hour game. That's just not going to happen. If I can get them to sit still for a game of Uno, we're good. So if I get somebody to come in under an hour for something, they might play it, and they might even play it again. Even better if they don't really care how long it takes. That's really good. So I think you're talking really clean design, really clean execution, with a focus on getting people familiar with, easy to learn. Like you play a couple of rounds, you know exactly what you're doing. You've got this down. It's like, oh, cool, I know what to do now. It's my turn to move my guy. So it's easy to explain. I can teach it fast. It's going to wrap itself up fast, and it's fun enough people want to come back to it. If you were to put those in front of any really good game, I think you'll see the hits check those boxes. And if it doesn't, that doesn't mean it's not a hit, but it's not necessarily for that audience anymore. Like if it does take longer, that's fine. If it takes longer, it's great, but it's no longer quite that family friendly. Because let's be honest, a lot of families don't have a ton of time. They can't sit down and do a 3-hour game. Or if they've got 3 hours to play, they want to go through the 3 new things they bought. They don't want to just play one game for 3 hours. So I think you get that together and mash up that stew, you get some gold. And it's kind of what we shoot for with pretty much everything. We bend that a little bit on some of ours, but that's kind of the golden rule, I think. If you can hit that, you're not just making a good family game, you're making a good game.
BJ from Board Game Gumbo here at Gumbo Live with my guest, Justin from Fireside Games. Steve has a comment here: clean design, quick to get into, time limited, inviting and hospitable. The game should be a good host. And that's a great segue, Justin. Look, you could put that on your website.
That's good. That's good. Thanks, Stephen.
And that's a good segue for another game, you guys, I wanted to talk to you about. A game I'm very intimately familiar with. Kaiju Crush.
A little bit familiar with this one.
I taught it for 3 days and loved every minute of it. Kaiju Crush, a game that came out 2017 from Fireside Games. Give us the elevator pitch. What's Kaiju Crush all about?
Sure. Kaiju Crush is the game where you get to finally be a giant monster like you always wanted in Smash a City. There are 4 giant monsters in the game. You pick one. They all have a unique ability for combat, and then you lay out a grid of city tiles. You can see in that picture over there. Each one's a different building that make up the city, and the board is modular. Every time you lay it out, it's going to be a little different. On your turn, it's really simple. You're going to move. You're going to smash a building, and then if you're next to another monster, you'll fight them. Movement is interesting in that we have a set of cards that tell you where you can move. For example, one might be move 2 spaces up, down, left, right. One might be move like a knight in chess. Another one might be move diagonal. Everybody gets one of these, and there's an extra one that's out that anyone can use called the community card. On your turn, you're moving either using your card or the community card, but the trick is if you use yours, it switches and becomes the new community card. So you kind of have this revolving door of movement options. There you go. And you're going for some objective cards like that. Look at that promo card there. So you're smashing buildings, and every city's worth a certain amount of points. When you get next to another monster, you'll use your, I should back up and say, when you smash a building, you also lay down your territory marker, which looks like a crater with your color on it. And on the back of those
I've got a picture of it up there now.
Yes, there we go. Like the little yellow footprint under Steganox there. Yes. So you've got on the back of those are some symbols, and we have sort of a rock, paper, scissors on steroids going on, that you'll have a quick card battle with another monster if you want to fight them. And you can either get victory points for fighting them, or if you're on their space and you beat them, you take their space away from them, which might let you connect different shapes and all that. Because underneath all of this fun monster smashing, you've got some secret objective kind of things you're going for. Well, I shouldn't say secret. They're wide open. Everyone's going for the same objectives. Some of them involve getting different patterns smashed into the board with your craters. Did you make a certain shape? Do you have them spread out or collected together? There's things about scoring up the different types of city buildings, because you have your power buildings, your commercial buildings, things like that. You can get different points for different groups and sets. And all the objective cards are double-sided, so every time you play the game, you can get a different combination of what you're going for and what you're trying to avoid. You get, like I said, points for fighting, and you get special abilities you can drop that'll let you power up a little more. So the whole thing plays pretty fast and furious. It's like a 40-minute game at max kind of deal, and it really is your monster smashing stuff, fighting other monsters, and trying to be a little bit clever in how you smash buildings and where you leave your markers kind of thing.
Here's what I thought was really cool about Kaiju Crush. Number one, it's thematic. It really feels like a monster smashing game. But what was the second part about it? The first day, it probably took me 5 or 6 minutes to get through the spiel, to get people on the table and teaching it. And by the last day, it almost felt like, what was that old show, Name That Tune? I would joke around with some of the people to get them to the table. It's like, I can teach you this game in 2 minutes. I can teach it to you in a minute 30. I'll have a minute. I can teach it to you in a minute.
Yeah. And by learn a new game right now.
by the end of the week, I actually had people, the fastest I ever had people playing the game was 30-something seconds. Now, that's not the whole game.
No, but they're moving their pieces.
But in 30 seconds, I could teach them enough to get started. And what I liked about this game, and my question for you is going to be obvious, but what I liked about this game is that the stair-stepping of the rules that you introduced during the first round or two all make sense, but also can be introduced at that time. The first thing you do with no matter what you do on the very first turn, it's not going to affect the end of the game.
Right.
So I could introduce all of the rest. I could get them moving their pieces, even doing a battle, and then slowly say, oh, and you know what else you can do, and you know what else you can do, and this is what else you're going to do. And was that a conscious effort in this game to make it a kind of game that does have a lot of depth to it, but doesn't take that long to get to the table?
Yeah, definitely. That was the biggest thing. I mean, Tim Armstrong, the guy who designed the core engine underneath it, came up with a really clever system. And then we added a lot of the thematic elements, the battling and all that. And we changed up a bunch of the goals and all that stuff. But right away, one of the things I loved about it when we saw it was this is a fast game to get into. There's way more depth than it seems at first. Like you were saying, like it's really easy to get in. Your first turn is literally, you move your monster. Did you smash a building? Great, that's yours. Are you near another monster? No, your turn's over. Next guy goes. It's that simple. We just taught people how to play Kaiju Crush. Then there's all this depth of why you're going certain places, and do you want to take this space or this space, and do you think you can fight that monster? Is he going to go there or is he going to go there? And if I leave this card, we wanted to sort of layer cake it, let it have that, like, sure, in the beginning it's super easy, and then boom, you go a little deeper. It's not always easy to do, but that one lent itself very, very well to it. Staggered, like you're saying, a staggered instruction in that's a really good example of when it works really good, I think.
Was it always monster smashing when Tim brought it to you?
No, the first one was actually funny little cartoon animals robbing buildings, and it was cute, but it didn't really click. It also had an underlying mechanic that was sort of a poker thing going on that right away I was like, that's too tricky. There's too much going on there, and that doesn't relate to what's going on. And immediately we were thinking, well, what works? What can we do with this that feels like you're moving and like you're sort of like taking or destroying these things? And I was like, oh, you can be a giant monster. And immediately like, oh yeah, if you're a giant monster, you could do this and this and this, and then the game just kind of went from there. We probably, I don't think we prototyped more than half of one other version of the game before we were on the monster version. All of a sudden it started clicking. And then the hardest thing really to get right was the fighting. Getting the fighting combat mechanism to be fun, simple, with just enough player control that you can try new things, but it's not a dice roll. You're not totally at the mercy of the dice, but it's still semi-random. You've got cards, you have some choice. Every monster has a way to bend the rule a little bit, in their combat. So that definitely took a long time to polish that down.
How did he present? I mean, go a little inside baseball for me. How did he present this to you? Was this at a convention? Is this a friend of yours? How did that work? I've got some designers that watch the show, and they're always looking for tips on how do they get to a publisher.
Well, one of the best ways is, first off, check a designer's webpage, a publisher's page. They'll let you know if they're actively looking for submissions or not, because sometimes it goes in cycles, and other times it's like, always send us stuff kind of deal. We're kind of in a cycle right now where we're backed up. So if anybody's watching this, don't send me anything. I can't get to it for a couple of years, and that's not fair to you. Go ship it to somebody who can do something with it. But for us, we met Tim at a convention. And I think it was Origins 2 years ago. I actually didn't play the game at first. Anne-Marie and Sam played it, and they said, this is neat. You should play this. And then we bumped into him at Gen Con, and I did get a chance to play it. And we were like, yeah, this is cool. We like this. But I knew right away, it's like, I like this. I want to do more with it. Like, it needs to be a little more something, but this engine you've got here is really cool. Let's play with that. And then he and I went back and forth. We had a bunch of Skype meetings, and we threw ideas around, and we brought Anne-Marie in for some, what does this work like? Like, how's this going to work? And eventually, once we nailed the monster thing down, I kind of took it on board and did the rest of the development on that. And then we bounced a few things off of Tim and all that. So it's very collaborative, but we, I believe the first meeting at Origins was at one of the prototype events they have, and I forget what Origins calls theirs. Sometimes they call it speed dating in some conventions, but essentially it's an organized, planned, advertised area where a gamer will bring their prototype, and publishers will come around and look at all the prototypes. And there's different ways it works, but and then you just essentially come and look at everything, and if you like something, you say, yeah, let's talk, and if you don't, you move on to the next one. So that's a really good way to do it. There's even whole conventions if your guys are interested. They're called Protospiels. There's a bunch of them around the nation, and they're exclusively about bringing your prototype to show. Sometimes you're just going to be showing it to other designers, which is great if you really want to get in there and grind the bad parts out. Sometimes publishers will go to these looking for hot new things. And there's Protospiels. The original one I think is in Milwaukee. I may be wrong on that. And there's one down here. What's that?
I was going to say Protospiel or Unpub. You can go to one. I don't know if you've done Unpub before.
Same thing, yeah. And they're kind of all over. I mean, a Google search will get you more data than I can remember off the top of my head, but they're all over the country. There's not just one. There's Protospiels in a bunch of different like regions and Unpubs. And then, you know, almost every convention, with the exception of some small ones, has like an area that's meant for like, hey, want to play a new prototype? If you just want to do some testing, great way to get some fresh meat on a game and have them break it for you and make it better. So.
As Steve said, the way you described the mechanic of moving around, you know, grabbing those things, King of Tokyo Onitama.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Steve, it's very good. It's just hard to say.
Yes, it is. I don't think we could go to press with that name, but I do like Tokyo Onitama. Yeah, that's not a bad description. Although King of Tokyo is the dice and all that, so, and we get that a lot. People are like, oh, is this King of Tokyo? Like, no, not at all. Yes, there's giant monsters, but no, that's.
I answered that question 2 or 3 times during the week.
Seriously.
Yeah. BJ from Board Game Gumbo here, Gumbo Live, Justin De Witt. We've come to the time of the program that we like to call the Envie Game.
Ooh.
The Envie Game. It's a Cajun word, Justin.
Okay.
And it just means that you got a real hankering, something you really want, something, a deep desire to do something. In this case, the way Steve and I play this game is we have 20 questions to try to figure out what game, and don't tell us yet. Ted from Bezier Games blurted it out. You forgot about the 20 questions part, but which was fun because he had to come up with another game.
Nice.
But what game would you want to play right now? It could be something in your collection. It could be something you don't own. It could be something that is old. It could be something that's coming out. Whatever is the game right now, if we stop the show and you get to pick who you're playing with, so it doesn't even have to be, oh, BJ likes these kind of games. No, this is your time. You get to pick the game, and we don't give you much time. That way, you can't stump us. But hopefully, we can try to figure it out. Justin, are you ready for the Envie Game?
Indeed.
Okay, good. Well, the first question I'm going to ask you, of course, is one that I think I know the answer to, and if I don't, all of my research is out the window. Is it competitive or cooperative?
It is competitive.
Oh, great. That just eliminates all of my research.
Score!
Every interview I read of Justin was, I love cooperative games. Cooperative games are mine.
I do, but you know, you caught me on a Tuesday night or whatever. I'm a little feisty.
Well, Steve, back to the drawing board. Okay, that's gonna make it tougher. Is it an American design or a European design? Maybe you got those new hot games coming over from Asia?
Right. This is an American one.
Oh, okay. So that narrows it down to about 9,000 games.
Yeah, exactly. Doesn't that help? You'll have 18 questions remaining. Choose wisely.
I'm going to struggle on this one. Oh, man. I even had the designers. I did some research on you, Justin.
Wow. Wow.
Well, I knew you liked Bruno Faiduti, and I knew you liked Matt Leacock.
Yeah. No, I'm sticking with my original choice action. And the more you talk about this, the more like, no, I'm gonna have to see what Amory's doing after this interview and see if we want to play this.
That's what it's all about. And in fact, I know you like Bruno Faiduti. What kind of thrill was that whenever your boy BJ is demonstrating Kaiju Crush to Faiduti, and he walks around and buys the game from you?
Yeah. But that's it. I was excited. I may not have had my coolest moment ever, but I got to give him a game. That was pretty awesome. There's some moments you remember, and that's one of them. I wish I could have kept my cool a little better, but I geeked out. It's Bruno, and he was there, and he liked our game. It was cool.
Yeah, and later on, I saw him at a restaurant. I mean, I almost wanted to walk up to him and say, "Man, it was a thrill just getting to demonstrate that game too." He's such a good designer. So, all right, Steve's got a question that does not count on mine, but under an hour to play.
Oh, like on the box lid?
What do you think? Is it an hour play if you and Amory played right after this?
It'd be close if it's not like a 5-hour game, but I don't know if it's under an hour. No, I think it's at least an hour. If I could turn the camera, I could double check.
Sure. Yeah, I don't mind if you do that.
Look over here at our beautiful file cabinet while I make a quick little.
Hey, Steve, we can eliminate TI4, even though that's been a winning answer for you a couple of times, Steve. It's not going to be TI4.
Where is the thing? Don't tell me they didn't put the thing on here.
BJ from Board Game Gumbo Live. I am actually live and talking to Justin De Witt from Fireside Games. You know those guys. They designed Castle Panic, Dead Panic, a million other games. Love some of their love all their games, and I was fortunate enough to demonstrate Hotshots and Kaiju Crush at Gen Con this year. Got to know Justin and Anne-Marie and his whole team. And man, the team at Fireside Games. If you ever get a chance and you want to volunteer, those are the guys to talk to because they really put on a fantastic booth. I mean, y'all did. You had a great booth. I really enjoyed my time there.
Thank you. We enjoyed having you. Gen Con is always a challenge of what do you do? How do you handle it? How does it work? And when we get it right, it feels real good. So yeah.
What a difference from Dice Tower Con. Dice Tower Con was like, here's 4 hours of relaxing. Let's show people. Gen Con, it was like getting smashed. Okay,
so it's an army. Yeah.
What'd you decide? Is it under an hour to play?
I'm going to say it's over an hour, but here's an interesting tidbit. The time is not listed on the box. Don't know if that helps or hurts you, but I was rather surprised.
Yeah, interesting. All right, so Steve and I are not going to guess TI4, which has been a winning guess for a bunch of guests.
Wow, really? That's what they'd rather play like right now? Wow.
TI4. Nolan Nasser was one. A couple other. I'm trying to think of the last one who said that before Nolan, but it's been TI4. A couple of guys. All right, so is it board-based or card-based?
Board-based.
Okay, interesting. Let's think in terms of mechanics. Would you call it a Ameritrash or Euro, or the latest thing is the hybrid, like Blood Rage?
Right. Heavy Ameritrash.
Ah, okay. That's right up your alley, right?
Yeah. I'm big on theme. That's one of my problems with some Euros. I'm like, wow, this was an amazing puzzle where I moved a lot of cubes around. I'm tired and don't want to move any more cubes. I want to blow something up, It's like, yeah, come on. Let's get to it.
Soulless Euros.
Yeah, some of them.
All right, did it come out in the last 3 years? Is it a recent game?
No, not the last 3 years.
No. Does it have minis in it?
Yes, it does.
It does have minis. Merrick. All right, to recap, it's not a cooperative. It's a competitive game. I had actually written your answer in before.
Oh,
thinking I knew what it was.
Now I want to know what you guys guess. We'll get to that.
It's a competitive game. It's an American designer, board based. A hybrid Ameritrash and thematic, and highly thematic.
Mm-hmm.
Did not come out recently in the last 3 years. No. It does have miniatures. So it's not a legacy game. I might give her that.
Oh yeah.
It's roughly about an hour. Man. Let me see. Is it not a social deduction game. Oh, got minis in there. Does it have an IP based? Is it IP based?
Ooh,
Star Wars, any one of those.
No.
Firefly.
No.
You hesitated.
I did because the IP threw me. It's not like that kind of IP. No, I'll leave you with that.
Oh, great. That's like the non-answer answer.
Yeah, I know. Sorry.
Does it is it a fantasy theme? I'm going to say no.
No.
Yeah. Let me say it's not. Is it space themed?
Yes.
Yeah, I figured that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Steve wants to know if it's a knockoff of an IP.
Knockoff. It's not based on any major IP like a movie or a TV or anything like that. I can tell you that right now. That don't go there. Yeah.
Well, a miniatures game is not cooperative.
So maybe keep track of questions. I don't want you to get away with more than you are allowed.
Yeah.
You got like at least 10 left. I can tell, sure.
It's a friendly game, right? It's a friendly game.
It is. You're narrowing it down. I'm pleased.
Is it? We know it's not 3 years. Is it beyond 10 years?
No.
Oh, is it still in print?
No.
Okay, that helps us out there, Steve.
Mm-hmm.
It is not in print anymore. What's a minis-based game that does it? Wait, you said space theme, so that eliminates all the Cthulhu guys. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't have thought you for a Cthulhu guy.
Not that much. Yeah. I mean, I love me some Arkham Horror, but the number of games I've actually finished, I can count on like one hand.
Yeah. I have never finished Arkham. Steve O'Rourke wants to know, you said you and Anne-Marie might play. So is it 2-player possible?
Oh, yes.
Is it two player? Is it 2 player only?
2 to 4.
2 to 4. Man, Defenders of the Realm. That's fantasy, not space. Space. Is it a campaign game?
No.
You are really tough nut to crack here.
Oh, this is good. I didn't blurt it out right away or nothing.
Campaign, not a campaign game.
I mean, I don't know if you're certain. Oh, is that a question from Stephen popping up? It looks like.
Yeah, he wants to know: are the minis spaceships? I presume.
Correct.
Spaceship minis. It's not in it, so I'm eliminating the Fantasy Flight Star Wars stuff. I'll just ask you: is it a Fantasy Flight game?
No.
Lonius doesn't do space stuff. Not that I can think of.
American. I can't think of the space game it is.
I can't think of one from Lonius. Space. Is it a big name designer? Somebody that comes out with a lot of games?
I don't even know who the designer is.
There it is. Yeah. That's going to make it pretty tough. Steve, what you got, man? You got anything? Man.
I'll give you I don't know if it's a hint necessarily, but I have mentioned it in an interview before as being a game I like. I don't know if that means, Steve's going to Google the whole internet now or anything, but
I am not allowed to Google during the show because that would be cheating.
Good.
And I'm trying to think if you mentioned any space games. You mentioned, you're a big fan of all the Leacock games. You didn't mention what Faduti game you did like, though. You don't look like a Citadels guy. I was trying to figure out what game you liked from Faduti.
I loves me some Citadels.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Got me some Citadels right there.
There it is. You're old? Are you old Citadels or new Citadels?
Oh, I think it's the older one. It's got to be old, actually.
The one you pulled out is the old one.
Yeah, it's the small box without it's the tiny silver line one. Man, I love this line, this little tiny box that they put so many games in. I loved it when Fantasy Flight did that. I'm trying to think. Didn't Faduti do Ink and Gold? Wasn't that him? Was he? I have that right.
That's Faduti and Mike. No, not Mike Fitzgerald. That's Faduti and
who's
another guy.
Yes.
Mike. Yes, Ink and Gold is Faduti.
Okay, there you go. That's one I love. That's actually one of my early games that got me into gaming. Well, second tier into gaming, and that's one of my go anywhere games. I will toss that thing and play with anybody because I can teach them in 30 seconds and boom, go.
Yeah, Steve says nope. He is not Googling. He's playing it straight.
All right then.
Well, we don't have much left here. Man.
Yeah, start shooting for the moon.
I know you are. Oh, does it have any expansions?
No.
You were supposed to say yes. Okay.
Yeah. Ironically, that's a big clue.
Well, that doesn't make sense. It's not. You love the game. It's not in print, and it has no expansions. Fireside Games needs to make some phone calls. Get this game back in print.
Once I show you what it is, you'll know why I can't.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Let's see.
I probably shouldn't have
Wait a minute.
Uh-oh.
No, I was it's not it. I was thinking Cosmic Encounter, but that's never going out of print since the not the last.
And that is the Fantasy Flight now, technically, I think, right? Asmodee had that.
Yeah, what's the edition I have? Must be the Fantasy Flight edition.
Avalon Hill, I think, had it way back in the day.
Yeah, I don't. And there was a publisher before Avalon Hill, but I don't have I think the one I have is the Fantasy Flight, so it's not Cosmic Encounter. 2 to 4. It's not team based. I'm assuming it's everybody's against each other. And he's Zayed. That's too big for an hour. There's no way.
You know what? I'll back you up on one. The 4-player version, you're essentially playing as teams. I think it's really just a 2-player game. Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I know. I agree with the Ink and Gold is Bruno Faduti with Alan Moon.
Alan Moon. That's it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we should have known that one. If he's right. And
he's right.
And he's usually right. Out of print needs to be helping us. I totally agree. That's the one that's the clue you gave us that narrowed it down and should be on us.
Yeah. I've drawn you a pretty good path. I think you'll see it when we see it. But let's see.
All but once, when we lose this game, and we lose it most of the time, as you can imagine, it's hard. It's hard to narrow down 12,000.
Oh, come on, with the number of games out there, yeah.
But we have won. We have won a few times, and but all but once, I went, oh, I should have known that game.
Well, of course.
Yeah. One of them was Cyclades. I should have known Cyclades based on the description. But one of them, it was Chris Kirkman from Dice Hate Me. Mm-hmm. Ypsilon. I've never seen the game, never played the game, don't know anything about it. I now know it has camels in it, and if I had known that, I would have gotten the game right. But Ypsilon, I've never even played.
I literally couldn't do this. I'm so out of the loop on all the new stuff, and especially some of the older stuff. I would just sit there and go, "Is it one of the ones on my shelf?" No, I give up. Steve, I'm stumped. Unless you have something, Steve, I think that this is going to go down as a fiery loss for the Gumbo crew. I think you got. Oh wait. Oh, Steve's got a question. Hold on. All right.
Combat of ships, or is it the exploration side?
Combat only.
Oh, so it's not a 4X game. Combat only. Man, I am. Wow, I'm stuck. I got nothing. All right, Steve, I think we're going to have to call it, man. I think we're going to have to call it. All right, Justin, I'm calling it.
All right.
No Moss. What you got? Show us that box. Man.
Battleship Galaxies.
Okay, I don't even know this game.
Really?
No.
Oh, there you go. This is one of the reasons I was able to stump you then. Hasbro got into hobby game publishing back in 2011, and they went big.
Battleship Galaxies. I don't know anything about this game.
Oh, man. It's pretty sweet. So they went into it big.
Calling shenanigans. You've got a printer over there, and this is just some prototype you're working on, right?
You Google it. It's a good game. So you got little fancy screens to block what your opponent sees. You got I haven't even opened the second board. It comes with 2 hex maps. Look at that. Hex maps like real gamers use.
What? And
a bajillion awesome little spaceships. And
Battleship is the worst game I've ever played. That one looks fantastic.
And it's brilliant because the way it works is you move your spaceships, which are all on these little hex boards. So like in this case, this guy takes up 2 hexes when he moves because he's like a frigate or something like that. You have all sorts of different ones, including your
family show, Justin.
There you go. This is the actual ship that you use. Sorry, it's hard to hold because it doesn't have that. And it looks like a battleship in space. It's very like Yamato kind of thing like that. The minis are pretty nice too. Overall, I mean, they're not super fancy, but they're a giant vacuum sealed tray with tons of stuff. But what I love about the game and where it gets the name Battleship from is when you are attacking somebody, every ship has a little spec sheet it comes with that tells you things like distance it can shoot and all that kind of stuff. But when you're attacking somebody, you roll your 2 different dice, and what you're doing is you're rolling a horizontal and a vertical number, and if you hit the ship's silhouette with your dice, that's how you determine whether or not you actually score a hit. So that's where the battleship mechanic comes in. You don't call out like A23. You roll 2 dice to get this, and if you hit the little red dot in the middle, it's a critical and blows the ship up right away.
I got to ask you, how did you even find this game? I mean, I've been in the hobby 10 years. I've never even heard of it or seen it in the wild. Where did you hear from it?
It was hot stuff when it first came out. People were very excited because it was like a $60 game or something too. That's the thing. Hasbro came in, and here's the thing. Hasbro laughed at all of us for being silly with our games, and they said, "Wait, we want to get a slice of this pie." Especially in 2011, market was hot. They come in with this bad boy, $60 game. I think it was 20 minis. Blah blah blah, really cool stuff. And it basically bombed for them because no gamers wanted to buy a game from Hasbro, and no mom and dad were going to buy a $60 game from Hasbro. And everybody thought Battleship was the kiss of death because it's like no one wants to play Battleship. But the system they did, as soon as I heard the first review of how they did their little dice roll combat thing, I'm like, that's brilliant. It's like the one thing that was kind of fun about Battleship without all the nonsense. You can still miss occasionally, but it's pretty rare. And even then, you're going to be winging the other ships left and right. The minis are beautiful. It's fast to play. It's real clever. It's one of those ones that, unfortunately, though, because it really is a 2-player game, the 4-player you each pick, like you split your team and your armies go at each other. It's got almost a HeroClix kind of feel in that I can get you up and running pretty quick, but there's meat once you get into it. So, and it looks beautiful on the table, but it does look a little bit intimidating. If you're not a minis person, it's like, oh boy, I smell rules and charts and graphs. And technically, there's a dice chart there, but anyway. So no, and when this came out, I was blown away when I first heard about it. And then a friend of mine had a copy, and I was like, I have to go buy this right now. And I think I got my copy at like Walmart or something. It was
wow.
One of those kind of things. Now, honestly, I think they're going for like over 100 on eBay or something because they're super rare. And the whole thing is there was gonna be a series of expansions. So this is where my teaser came in, is the rule book is written specifically saying this symbol on your card, don't worry about it. That's part of the expansion. Like, we'll tell you later. And then they never made the expansion because the game didn't hit. Hasbro wanted Monopoly sales out of this, and they got hobby sales out of it. And those are a different world. And they basically ran away screaming. And they honestly haven't come back to the hobby industry until like 2 years ago. Well,
the way you're making it sound reminds me of one of the Gumbo guys, Dustin Boatman. We all talk about Risk and Monopoly and all these things like that. And he always says, wait. Don't talk about Risk. If you've played Star Wars Risk, or I can't think of the name of it, but there is a Risk that is, that's not Risk itself. It's a completely different game. And I've never tried it. Hey, by the way, guess who designed this game? You're going to freak out.
Bruno Finuti.
No. Colby Dowk, Jerry Hawthorne, and Craig Van Ness. And also Dustin DePinning. I don't know who that is, but the other three names are very familiar to me.
Yeah. That's awesome. And that's the other thing too. Hasbro didn't put their names on the cover. I bet they're in the rule book. I haven't looked that close, and it's been a long time. Are you by any chance talking about this bad boy?
There it is. Yeah, Risk 2210 AD.
Yeah. Awesome. This is the reason to play Risk, and all the other ones they've come up with since then, like Godstorm, and I think the Star Wars one did some crazy stuff.
Godstorm's not bad. I mean, it's not the greatest game, but I mean, it's better than Risk.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the one, I haven't played 2210. I played Godstorm.
Yeah. Well, they fixed so many of the main problems. Like now there's this neat energy system where you get to buy cards that you break the rules. Like, hey, have a bad roll your dice again, or add one to a roll. And also, this one is time-based. You're only going to play a certain number of turns, and then whoever has the most points at that point wins, round ends. So it encourages you to take risks and get pushy. You'll never have that whole grind the guy out of Australia problem. That just doesn't exist in this. And also, you can go to the moon in Risk 2210. Very cool.
So, Steve, listen to scoops we got. We found out about Remnants, and now we know Justin is a mass market Walmart Hasbro fanatic.
When it comes to their good games, yes.
When it comes to their good games, you are a discriminating gamer. You know how to separate the chaff from the wheat.
I try. If anybody's going to try anything new, I'm willing to give them a break. And Hasbro tried some really neat new stuff with this, and I'm kind of sad it didn't work for them. I think it could have been a really neat deal, and it's also an interesting marketing case study. What really broke this game? Was it the battleship name? Was it the price? Was it how it was marketed? I seem to recall there was something weird, and if you ever get like a retailer on, I'd love to know their thoughts. I think it like was exclusive to Walmart for a while or something. I don't know. And this is back in 2011. So there's a story behind that game.
You know, they tried another one, Magic the Gathering. They tried to combine Magic the Gathering with the Heroscape thing. Yeah, you may have tried that. The game, I bought a couple of copies, and Jack, my son, and I tried to play it, and it really looked awesome.
Yeah, the figures were cool.
But it didn't play awesome. It really just wasn't that much fun. And the game, and there is a game that has come out that to me is Magic the Gathering Duel of the Planeswalker in a better version. It's Warhammer Shadespire. If you get a chance to try Warhammer Shadespire, I'm not a 40K guy. I'm not a Warhammer guy. I just don't have time to all those models. This game is plastic models that get snap fit together. The game plays in about 30 minutes, and it does everything Magic the Gathering Arena of the Planeswalkers was trying to do, but better. So, hey, you know what? I'll applaud Hasbro, Wizards of the Coast, for all three of those games and some of the others. And look, these are some real designers here. These guys put some thought and effort into this game. So man, as Steve says, unlike Alex Goldsmith, that is not a Happy Meal loss. He stumped us with McDonald's Happy Meal game.
What? No, I wasn't going to go that dark and deep. I wanted to at least give something that was reasonable. I thought for sure with the whole space game, no expansion thing, I was like, oh, that's got to be. But no, you're right. There's too many games out there.
I don't know the game. And, here's a Hasbro game of Battleship that got the weight of 2.39. Kudos to you, man. I mean, I got to tip your hat. That was you had a great choice. And it's a game now I want to play. This
it
game
really
fun.
is good. If you can get a copy anywhere, honestly, you might be able to pick one up at like a flea market or Craigslist or something. I recommend give it a shot. Let's put it this way: I have played way worse mini games. It's a cute, fast spaceship blow 'em up game. I like it a lot.
BGG Fall. I'm going to check that library.
Yes. Also, I'm going to tell you this, and then I'm going to apologize. They have what they call a flea market, which is literally people bring the games they don't want anymore, and they set up a table, and they have a Post-it note that tells you how much they want, and you go around the room, and and if you see something you want, you buy it right then and there, because if you make another loop, it's going to be gone. But as the day goes on, things do get cheaper, and I have picked up a few games for $5 or less, where I'm like, I'll try it, and sometimes you'll see like rare. Oh my God, I've never even seen that in print. You bet I'll pay $30 for that or whatever. So that's a really fun thing. That's a Saturday morning ritual for me. But it's also kind of like the running of the bulls. It's ridiculous, but it's
great. Man. The BGG sounds so much like Dice Tower Con, and it's so much closer. I got to make it there. Look, my scouting career is almost over, so I'll be able to get my Memorial Day weekend and my Thanksgiving pre-day weekend back from the camping. So
very good.
All right, board gamers, that is it for another episode of Gumbo Live. I want to thank my guest Justin De Witt of Fireside Games. Hey, Justin, how can they reach you on social media?
Well, it's pretty easy. You can get to us through our website, firesidegames.com. We've got a Facebook, we're just Fireside Games. And you can get us Twitter at Fireside Games. We also have an Instagram. We post pretty pictures. We're all the usual spots like that. Love to chat with people. We also have a newsletter. If you want to hear some behind-the-scenes scoop kind of things like that, sign up for our newsletter, and roughly once a month, we'll hit you with the new cool stuff you need to know. It's not very spammy. It's very like short, sweet, and here's what we're working on, and isn't that cool?
Make sure to like our Facebook page, facebook.com/boardgamegumbo. It helps us get the word out for great guests like Justin and some of the people that are coming up. We got some great guests lined up for season 2. We got Stephen Bonacore for Stronghold Games.
I know that guy.
We got Jamie Stegmeyer coming from from Stone Meyer Games. So we got a bunch of guests. You'll want to check those out in season 2. And there's Steve checking out. I want to thank the Name Father as usual, bringing it with the heat and helping me out on the Envie Game. Nice. Steve says, thanks, Justin and BJ. Hey, I'm BJ from Board Game Gumbo. And until next time, Justin, laissez le bon temps rouler.
Au revoir.